My daughter cut me out of her life after the divorce. She never once asked for my side of the story. Now, 8 years later, she's come back, hoping to claim her inheritance. I couldn't help but laugh and told her, "Unblock me first, then read the message I sent you years ago." Hello, Reddit. I'm posting this with a throwaway account. My name is David Langston. I'm 56 years old now. And if someone had told me 8 years ago that I'd be writing this, not for pity, not to gain closure, but simply to release it from my chest, I would have laughed outright. Back then, I used to think time healed all wounds. It doesn't. Sometimes, time only reveals who truly cared. 8 years ago, I went through a brutal divorce from my wife, Marlene. We had been married for over 2 decades. At the time, she was 46. I was 48. Together, we had one child, our daughter, Emma. She had just turned 20 when everything fell apart. When the divorce happened, Emma didn't hesitate. She picked her mother's side without a second thought. She blocked my number, refused to answer my calls or messages, and the last words she spoke to me before cutting contact were, "Mom told me everything I need to know about you." I tried everything, calling, texting, even sending emails. At one point, I waited outside her college dorm for hours, just hoping to see her walk by so I could catch a glimpse of her face. Instead, she called campus security on me. The message couldn't have been clearer. Stay away. I was devastated. The divorce itself was painful enough, but to be erased so completely by the one person I thought would at least ask for my side, that destroyed me. No questions. No chance to explain. Just cold, permanent silence. The truth? Marlene had crafted the perfect story. One where I was a distant, selfish husband who cared more about a construction job than his own family. Yes, I worked long hours. I was the sole provider, the one keeping us afloat financially. Marlene stayed home to raise Emma. I never resented that. In fact, I took pride in being able to give them both a comfortable life. But when our marriage began to unravel and arguments became frequent, it was easy for Marlene to paint me as a villain. She had the audience, the sympathy, and all the right words. I was judged without trial, convicted without a chance to defend myself. For the next 8 years, I carried that weight. I threw myself into my work and cared for my aging mother, who was slowly losing her battle with Alzheimer's. A year ago, she passed away. She had been the last family I had left. After the funeral, I stood alone in that cemetery, the emptiness hitting me like a freight train. No one there to place a hand on my shoulder. No daughter. No family. Just me. So when my phone rang 2 months ago and I heard a hesitant voice say, "Hi, Dad," I nearly dropped the phone. It was Emma. After 8 years of silence, I didn't even recognize her voice at first. It was older now, gentler, more cautious. She explained she had come across an online post about her grandmother's passing and wanted to check on me. I was stunned. I hadn't even known she still followed anything about my life. I thanked her for the call and told her the truth, that I had missed her more than words could express. She said she liked to meet and talk. We agreed to have dinner at my house the following Saturday. I spent the entire week preparing. I cleaned my home as if it were about to be evaluated by royalty. I cooked her favorite meal, shrimp Alfredo, and even bought flowers, not for her, but to make the dining table feel a little less lonely, a little more alive. She arrived right on time. When I opened the door and saw her for the first time in 8 years, it felt as if time itself had folded in on me. She looked so much like her mother now, but in her eyes and smile, I could still catch glimpses of the little girl I used to carry on my shoulders. I fought back tears and embraced her. Dinner was pleasant, though the conversation felt more like a meeting between distant acquaintances than a reunion of father and daughter. But I was grateful for the moment, however fragile. Eventually, I asked a question that had been lodged in my throat for nearly a decade. Why? Why didn't you ever ask me for my side? She looked down at her plate before quietly answering. I was scared. Mom told me things, and I believed her. I didn't know any better. I guess I didn't want to know any better. She apologized and admitted she regretted her actions, that she felt ashamed. I wanted so badly to believe her. Truly I did, but something in her tone didn't sit right. Soon, the conversation shifted. I asked her what had prompted her to reach out now, after so many years. That's when the truth came out. She had recently gotten engaged. Money was tight. She had hoped that the lawyers handling her grandmother's estate would contact her about the inheritance. When they didn't, she decided to reach out herself. I kept my expression neutral and simply nodded. She hesitated, then said she felt terrible for bringing it up, but that her grandmother had once told her she'd inherit everything as a sole grandchild. She wanted to know if that was still true. Anything you can spare would really help, she added with a shaky smile. The wedding is going to be huge. I really need some help. And there it was, the blade twisting slowly between my ribs. I had imagined this moment for years. Seeing her again, holding her close, being her father once more. But now I understood I wasn't her dad in this moment. I was just a bank account to her. Something inside me cracked. I told her the truth. The inheritance had been transferred to me some time ago. Grandma had revised her will. I had plans to use that money to start a small woodworking shop of my own. I added that personally, I'd be willing to offer a few $1,000s to help with the wedding. Her expression dropped like a stone into deep water. That's it, she asked. That's all I can give, I replied. Her voice turned sharper. Grandma told me I'd get everything. I'm her only grandchild. And you were also the one who never visited her again after the divorce, I answered calmly. Anger flashed across her face. You're proving everything Mom ever said about you, she snapped. I gave a bitter laugh. And you're proving every fear I had about why you came back. She shot up from her chair, flustered. This is unbelievable. I came here to reconnect, to plan for my future, and you're being selfish. No, I said firmly. You came here to find out if there was money waiting for you. She stared at me, speechless. That's when I told her something that wiped away her rehearsed guilt. If you hadn't blocked me all those years ago, you would have seen my messages. You would have known your grandmother was sick. You could have visited her one last time. And maybe, just maybe, she would have kept her promise to you. She stood frozen, her composure shaken. What messages? She whispered. Unblock my number. I told her. She did. And then I forwarded every single message. The ones where I had pleaded with her to talk to me. The ones where I had updated her on her grandmother's declining health. The final one, inviting her to say goodbye before the funeral. Silence. Then she said softly, I didn't know. No, I replied. You didn't want to know. We sat there in heavy silence. Then I stood. I don't hate you, Emma. I probably never could. But I don't trust you. And love without trust isn't love at all. She opened her mouth to speak, but I raised my hand. I spent 8 years missing you, grieving for you, even though you were still alive. But I'm done grieving. I'm done waiting. And I'm done being a father to someone who only thinks of me when they need money. Without another word, she turned and left, and there I stood in my quiet house once again, alone, but this time, finally at peace. 3 days after Emma stormed out, my phone rang again, this time with a number I hadn't seen in years. Marlene. For a second, I thought it must be some sort of prank. I stared at the screen as her name blinked there, like a ghost from the past. I let it go to voicemail. She called again the next morning, then again that night. On her 4th attempt, I finally answered, not out of curiosity, but because I was done hiding. I was tired of letting them control the narrative while I remained silent. David. Her voice was cautious, almost gentle. Can we talk? I said nothing. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from. You're right. There was a long silence on the other end. She took a breath. Emma came home upset. She told me everything. I nearly hung up. I didn't want to relive the whole thing. I didn't want to hear Marlene distort the truth one more time. But something inside urged me, listen, let her finish. She said you offered her money, and that she refused it. I snorted. That's not exactly how it happened. Another pause. You're right, she admitted. I know Emma. I can tell when she's lying. But that's not why I'm calling. Then why are you calling, Marlene? I want to apologize. That stopped me cold. For a moment, I couldn't find the words. 8 years too late. Finally, I spoke. I know. Her voice wavered. I destroyed you, and I convinced myself it was justified, that you were cold, distant, that you didn't care about us. I told myself if I made you the villain, it would be easier for Emma to stay with me. So you admit it? I asked. I do, she replied softly. I was angry. I was bitter. I couldn't stand the idea of her leaving me. And I knew if she had a choice, if she heard your side, she might have gone to you. She would have, I said quietly. I never would have tried to turn her against you. I know, she whispered. I leaned back in my chair, gazing out the kitchen window toward the still backyard. The breeze stirred the trees, just as it had the night Emma came to visit. You know what the worst part was? I said after a pause. It wasn't the lies. It wasn't losing the house, or half my savings. It was watching my daughter erase me, as if I never mattered, as if I didn't raise her, as if every bedtime story, every skin knee, every Christmas morning meant nothing. I'm sorry, David, Marlene said softly. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt drained. I begged her to see me. For years, I continued, and you told her I was harassing her. You threatened me with legal action. I know, she said. That's what I regret most. I used her as a weapon. I didn't think about what that would cost her, or you. I closed my eyes, drawing a long breath. Why are you really calling, Marlene? This can't just be guilt. She hesitated. Emma still believes she's entitled to something. She thinks your mother promised it to her. She did, I replied, before the divorce, before Emma shut me out, before she ignored 8 years of messages, and then came back with her hand out. I know she hurt you, Marlene said, but she's still your daughter. No, I said calmly. She's your daughter. You raised her to see me as a monster, and now you expect me to fund her wedding, to support marriage to a man who, by the sound of it, probably hasn't held a steady job in his life. Marlene went silent. I offered her money. I added, more than she deserved after everything that's happened. But it wasn't about the money. I wanted to see if any part of that little girl I knew was still there. She wasn't. I don't want it to end like this, Marlene said. You'll regret it when you're older. I let out a bitter laugh. You think I haven't been living with regret these past 8 years? Emma asked me to call, she continued. She wanted me to tell you she's sorry, that she was young. And she trailed off, then pressed on. I twisted everything. She's already said that. I replied, but an apology doesn't rebuild 8 years. It doesn't erase silence. It doesn't turn manipulation into love. She's still your blood, Marlene said. I stood and walked over to my mother's old china cabinet, the same one Emma used to hide behind during games of hide and seek. I stared at it for a long moment. You know what hurts the most, Marlene? I said, quietly. I would have given her everything. Not just money, my time, my love, my forgiveness. I waited for her to come back. And now that she has, I see it clearly. She came for the money, not for me. She misses you, David. No, I said, she misses what I can give her. There was a long silence. She's heartbroken, Marlene said at last. So was I replied. Another pause. Then she asked something I didn't expect. I'm not calling to ask for money. I just need to know, do you hate her? No, I said truthfully, but I don't know who she is anymore. And the woman I met last week, that wasn't my daughter. That was someone who sees me as a lost opportunity, a financial solution, a name to sign on a check. I sighed. I'm done being needed only when it's convenient. And with that, I ended the call. A few days later, a letter arrived in the mail. No return address. Just my name, written by hand. Inside was a photograph. Emma at 5 years old, perched on my shoulders, grinning wide, her pigtails flying in the wind. Attached was a short note. I don't know how to fix what I broke. Maybe I never can. But you were the best dad I could have asked for. And I'm sorry I didn't realize it sooner. No request for money. No mention of the wedding. Just that I placed a photo on the mantle, but I didn't call her, not out of anger, not out of spite, but because I finally understood something. Forgiveness doesn't always mean reunion, and sometimes the only way to heal is to walk away.